Welcome back to another episode of When It Matters. I'm Elle Noble, Founders Associate at Meshed and occasional / becoming more frequent host of the When It Matters podcast. And I'm here today with the fabulous Della Hudson. Della, so lovely to have you. Particularly, I don't think we got to see each other at the Luca Awards, which were last night. So it's great to have you in the studio today.
Oh, thank you. It was a fabulous evening, and we were just talking earlier about how glamorous everybody looked. It's so nice.
It was such a glamorous affair. I was saying to Della, I think it's probably the most glamorous work event I've ever been to. I think I was completely blown away. And you were a judge as well of the awards. Was it first time being a judge?
No, I've done it a few times for ICB and for other awards, and I just absolutely love it because I'm just so nosy. I get to see what the best in the profession are doing.
Honestly, it must be, yes. And also so rewarding when everybody goes up. I got so invested. I was like sitting on the edge of my seat. So yeah, the Luca Awards were amazing and incredible judging. So for anyone who might, on the off chance, not know you, give us a little bit of an intro to you, what you're kind of working on at the moment, and perhaps your kind of career to date, because it's a really good story.
So I'm Della Hudson. I'm a chartered accountant. I did the usual sort of stuff until, like many women, I had children. And then all of a sudden, you're looking at how to balance your life. And I decided that I was going to set up my own business, doing a few sets of accounts from the kitchen table. Mm-hmm. And because I'd worked in industry before, helping to run businesses as a finance director, you do the right things and your business grows. So it was doing its little thing. And then in 2012, I ran the Bristol 10K. And high on endorphins, I put together what I called my Icarus budget. Now, Icarus, if you remember, the wings stuck together with wax, flew too close to the sun and crashed and burned, which is why I called it my Icarus budget. It was the sort of all or nothing. And since I always do my planning high on endorphins, nothing stronger, just, and then come back and review it more realistically. Mm-hmm. And so I put this together, I recruited my first member of staff, and I turned it into a business, an accountancy business, not just me and a few hours a week. So I was lucky. I still limited myself to 25 hours a week, which is a standard school week. So sometimes that would mean taking time out in the day to go and see kids in plays, whatever. And I'd end up working the evenings still. But I always averaged around 25 hours per week. And it's a really good discipline, because I think a lot of people, when they start their business, they work more and more hours until they're working sort of 80 hours a week and burning out themselves. Whereas my desire to spend time with my children meant that I couldn't do any more hours. So you learn to work so efficiently. And one of my KPIs was my profit per hour.
Interesting.
So I've always tracked my total hours. So those small children are grown up, and one's living in Bristol, the other one's in Madrid, and I can work as many hours as I want to now, but I still try and limit myself to 35 on average. So, okay, yesterday will have gone late last night, but I'm taking the rest of today off today. So it averages out over time. I've got more flexibility, but I don't want to be working 80 hours a week. I could go and do that for somebody else. Yeah. I like my balance. And people make their own decisions on how they want to run their business. So I would say, in fact, in the foreword to my first book, I said, this is one way to run a business. Take what's useful and leave the rest. So I'm not saying my way is the only way to run it, that you have to run your business on 25 hours per week. But I would say, please don't burn out.
Well, that's honestly so liberating to hear. I mean, obviously at Meshed, we're a tiny startup, the 7 of us. I think, you know, in those early days of the business, I think there is such a trap, isn't there, when you're like, I've got to go, 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 go.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly I can imagine, you know, with external investors as well. I guess that's a different ball game. But so you obviously you built up your practice and then you exited, right? You sold your
Yes.
business, and you did all of that whilst working 25, 30 hours a week.
25 hours a week, yes.
See, I mean, this is really liberating to hear, right? Because I can imagine one of the big fears that do hold people back from maybe in a way fulfilling their potential with their practice, or any startup is thinking about that kind of work-life balance. I'm actually I feel like I need to learn today how you did it, and maybe I can reduce my hours a little bit. So how, in terms of that, like, hyper efficiency and discipline, and I have heard that having kids makes you much more
yes,
efficient. Yeah,
yes.
it's the biggest efficiency driver. Talk me through how, like, what those tips and tricks look like for you to go from running a practice that exited, where most would look at that and go, okay, you must have been working 60 hours a week minimum. How did you compress all of that into 30 hours a week? Share the secrets.
Yeah, and absolutely, people think I'm driven. I'm not. But I've achieved the results that a driven person would. Yeah, so it's just just planning it properly. So the main things: systemizing, automating, delegating, everything in sight, and then put the friendly front end on it for the clients. So it's looking at software as an investment, not as a cost, that it will save me this time. Systemating as opposed to automating. So system is just having all those checklists so that you are doing the same thing over and over again, and you keep constantly improving it. It's continuous improvement. You won't get it right first time. As Brian E. Thomas says, you want it to be functional but not embarrassing. So just do it, go for it, as long as it's close enough, and keep improving on it. Automation, of course, is the software coming in, and delegation. You can delegate to staff, outsourcing, whatever. And I don't know about you, but I have no problem finding people who are better than me. So they do it faster and better. I'm the face of the business and I take all the glory, but actually I have a fabulous team of in-house and external connections.
And I guess, just to go back a little bit, you know, when you talk about it, it sounds as though you had this kind of eureka moment, being like, oh my goodness, I can take a kitchen table business into this, you know, huge enterprise. Were you always very entrepreneurial? Did you always know that you would set up a business? Like, how did this eureka? I love the endorphin story. The moral of the story is everyone should run the 10K,
yes.
Bristol 10K, and then perhaps they'll have a eureka moment too. Like, how did this kind of, you know, start for you? Were you always entrepreneurial, or did you?
No, I came from a working class background. My father was in the army, and my mum followed him around the world doing whatever job was available. I have no entrepreneurs. That's far too risky. And I'd thought about running my own practice several times over the years and thought, no, it's more hassle than it's worth. So it was having children that made me take that step. And it was just a means to an end. I wanted interesting professional work that fitted around family life. So interesting, you know, working with people I like, doing the type of work I enjoy. Professional, being paid a decent rate for it, thank you very much. And that was one of the things I looked at, the hourly rate I'd been earning prior to having children, and that was my thing. I wanted to earn that same hourly rate, and then you can sort of take it beyond.
Interesting. And that KPI, profit per hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a smart way to look at it, right? Because then you are really maximising literally every minute of your day. How did you kind of come up with that? Was that something that, did you read that? Is that like a well-known principle with some sort of high flying businesses, or did you just kind of?
It's probably in some business book somewhere, but it was the KPI that worked for me. So other people maximise profit, like I say, and they do that by working more hours. but it's working, you've heard the phrase working smarter, not harder. And that's exactly what it was.
And I'm kind of curious at the moment because we're hearing a lot about practices moving from like compliance-based advisory, and I want to touch on that a bit deeper later. But we've got MTD that's coming up. It seems like quite a high pressure time for accountants. But then again, we've got all of this. We've got the AI sort of ecosystem, which is starting to really show a lot of value. So do you think in terms of work-life balance, is this a better time to become an accountant or is this worse? Like, should we be optimistic or should we be, Devil Wears Prada when he's like, gird your loins, should we be? Yeah.
It does feel like that a little bit. Yeah. I think any period of change is also a period of opportunity, and it's finding the opportunities that work for you. So when I sold Hudson Accountants back in 2017, it was ready for MTD, just waiting for the software companies to catch up. So all my clients were already on software.
In 2017?
Yeah. Because we were getting them on to MTD for VAT, and we found technology that would help with that. And it was a case of, if you can either go on the flat rate scheme and do it yourself, or we can put you onto the standard scheme, we do the bookkeeping, and it'll only cost you, and it worked out more or less the same. The extra VAT saved was similar to our fee. Oh. So the client had the same, but then they got more useful information. They were able to scale, ready to grow. And that was the selling point. And we got clients thanking me for taking on their bookkeeping and charging them more.
Somehow, a win-win. Yeah.
Of course, now I have Minerva Accountants, so we're on that process again, taking a whole lot of small clients and having to sell them the benefits of technology, which is, it's all very well for HMRC to say, yeah, businesses should be using technology, so they've got better information for this, that, and the other. But when you've got a small plumber, for instance, who is there, they can see their order book, how busy they are, and they've got their bank statement shows how much cash they've got. So that's what they're using. Yes. Yeah. So we look at things, how can it help? So cash flow is a big thing for a lot of small businesses. Most small businesses fail due to lack of cash flow. So it's a case of, right, I'm thinking of the plumber again. You've got this software, let's put the app on your phone. So you can quote them and generate the quote. And then as you finish the job, you press the button, turn it into an invoice, and take card payment on your phone before you leave site. Not wait until Friday night or the end of the month and then
suddenly panic and go.
Have to sit down, do your paperwork, which you absolutely hate. It's all done as you go, and you've got the payment. So all of a sudden they're at least a month ahead on their cash.
Oh my goodness.
And things like that. Different businesses, because you can have recurring invoices, automatic invoice chasers, you can connect with payment software to collect the payments for you. There's so much other good that can come. So MTD is very much the stick, but we're finding the benefits for the clients.
I love that. So you kind of sort of think about their personal pain points with their business, and then highlight how this is actually going to help that. Yes, it's going to be a bit of change management, but actually long term. Like, and do you think, what are your thoughts on niching and whether, just, do you think that is a way in which people can reduce their work weeks because they become these like hyper specialists, or do you think that's actually not really the case and niching has become a bit of a trendy thing, and actually businesses needing really well managed finances are that regardless of industry, and it doesn't really benefit either party? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Financially, niching is the way to go. But I didn't. Because like many small businesses, it's what I enjoy personally is a big part of the business. So it's not pure finances. I want to enjoy what I do, and I do enjoy what I do. I only work with people I like, doing work that appeals to me.
Mm.
It's one of my first rules of business is I only work with nice people. So
Good. Yeah, good start. I love that. Yeah.
so I'm quite selective who I take on, and if I take on the wrong person, I try and offload them as quickly as possible. So I don't niche, and I know that's what you're supposed to do. But I like the variety. I like being able to borrow a business idea from one business
To another.
into another. So I don't run an accountancy business. I run a business that does accounts. So all that business stuff is very similar or similar options across the board. So I like working with the smaller businesses, so under 10 million turnover, where the owners, they're really good at what they do. But they don't have a clue how to run a business quite often. Or, they can get to a certain stage and then they need somebody whose expertise is in running businesses. So all our account side is as automated as possible, and we're able to offer the value to help them in the business, which is loosely branded as advisory. But advisory is such a broad spectrum. It might be that you do the accounts and you throw in a bit of reactive advice you've spotted on the way, or answer the client's questions, things like that. Or it might be more proactive, where you're looking for opportunities for them. So sometimes it's just what I call compliance plus, where you don't really get to charge for it, but you get to charge a better accountancy fee because you're offering a little bit more, and you get the loyalty from the clients and you get the recommendations from the clients. And you can go straight through to sort of pure business coaching, where you don't really touch the accounts at all, which is when I coach accountants. Of course, I don't look at their accounts. I just coach them. So it's being able to understand what they want out of their business. And in all the time I've been doing this, I've only had one client who was purely profit focused. There's always an element of lifestyle, and it's finding out what they want. So that's, I can help you get a £1 million turnover, but what else do you want as well, so that we can balance what you do.
I have heard the more podcasts that we do, the more I feel as though you guys really are, like, obviously incredible numbers people, but also sounding boards, confidants, and actually there to literally make your customers' whole lives better.
Yeah.
So do you have any kind of, I guess, examples or stories that stand out to you where having worked with somebody, you kind of were able to transform, not only finances, but also the way they were able to kind of live their life. Also, I can imagine setting by example with 25, building an incredibly successful practice 25, 30 hours a week is also really, that would give me an amazing vote of confidence. I'd be like, she's the one I need to listen to. Yeah. Do any examples come to mind at all?
Well, that's sort of the things I did to achieve the 25-hour working week are the things that you would do for a better work-life balance or to scale, because we're now working really efficiently. It's not dependent on me as a person. It's dependent on my automation, on my team, and so on. So it's easy to replicate that and grow it and scale it. So you can have your work-life balance, you can go further along to more profitability, and also increasing the value of your business when it comes to sale means it needs to work without you, which is what we've done. We've taken me out of the equation. So it's 3 potential outcomes from the same methodology. It's just a variation on it.
And depending on where your life is at and where you're at, you can kind of go in any direction. And I guess for companies that are currently, purely compliance based, I like that term, compliance plus.
Yes.
Are they? Do you think, is the compliance only business, in your opinion, going to kind of not necessarily sort of die out, right? But kind of become a much smaller sort of industry, and advisory will be the way forward, particularly in this era of like more solopreneurs and the future is fractional and all of that. What's your kind of take on this? Like, what the future will look like for compliance versus advisory?
And we keep hearing from software companies that compliance is dead and we all need to move into advisory. And I love the advisory space, which is why I'm there.
And
That's the bit that excites me. It's helping clients to grow their businesses, not just accounting for it retrospectively. But good advice is built on a foundation of good compliance. So we will always need good compliance. So I was at the Science Museum yesterday, and there's they've built Babbage's calculator, the first one. And I'm pretty sure when that came out, somebody was there saying, compliance is dead, it's all going to be automated. So I've seen it so many, that when calculators came in, when software came,
AI.
spreadsheets and software, and now it's AI. It's the same old story. What that technology does, it enables us. It takes away I'd no longer have to type this into the machine, the dull bit. It's just quite relaxing sometimes to just type into a machine.
In the zone,
but
yeah.
It's not the exciting bit. The exciting bit is changing lives, which again is why I like the small businesses. It's when one of my clients says, my wife has noticed I'm whistling around the house again. And I'm just, I'm gonna go. These are the things that I really love what I do. And, other clients came to me, another one working too many hours, and she wanted to get to the stage where she wanted to lower her golf handicap, and she wanted to be able to play golf once a week, I think it was, in business time. So that was one of her KPIs. How many times have you played golf this month? And what's your handicap? And it's lovely because I still see her on social media now in all sorts of golf competitions at a local club, and it's so nice to be a part of that, because I believe as accountants we are a support function. A little bit with compliance, we have to say you must do this, but we are supporting the business owners. We are helping them to achieve their dream. And when you do that, it is so nice. You've got another client, he's always, he's got young kids, so they're always on holiday and with the kids, and he's spending the time with them, that precious years.
I mean, you guys really do sort of change the trajectory of somebody's life, potentially.
Yes.
By going, and I
feel quite egotistical saying that, but yes, we do.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I think it's something that I always think the accounting community is very modest, and sometimes, I mean, this is also, I think, why the advisory thing is so interesting, because people don't even realise that they're already sort of offering that, like they're quite unassuming, right? But I really believe it, and I guess with it being sort of super rewarding, and I love this idea around KPIs built around their lifestyle. Yeah. I mean, this to me feels very really quite revolutionary. I don't think I've heard anybody on the sofa talk about it like this before. How did you kind of come up with that? Like this kind of alternative, but also really logical way of measuring progress with the client, because what's going to matter to them that's what's important, really, isn't it? So how did you kind of come about, discover this philosophy, I guess?
And it is sort of a discovery more than anything. It's before we even take on the clients, that discovery call, it's tell me about your business. And why did you start your business? And then it's what do you want out of an accountant? The fourth bit is where I start to tell them about what we can do, matching it to what they need, maybe asking a few more questions. But it's about the business, it's about them, it's about their accountancy needs, and then it's about us. And then we come to the price, of course. Which,
fortunately, it has to.
Is, yes. You do have to pay for this.
I mean, that's actually something I wanted to ask you about, is pricing.
Yeah.
And because I think, as we just said, and I found this last night at the Lucas, that accountants and bookkeepers are so humble, right?
Yes.
And I think sometimes don't realise the incredible impact that they have on businesses. So I guess when you're advising, and I really want to talk about your kind of mentorship, perhaps just as a bit of an intro to your mentorship work, tell us a little bit about that before we dive into pricing and stuff, because I've got a lot I want to ask you about that. Obviously, you do a lot of mentorship in the accounting space.
So I sold Hudson Accountants, and I just learnt so much through that process, and I wanted to write it down to capture it. And I had a friend who was a publisher, so we, over coffee one day, we talked about, was I just going to write it, a Word document, just so I had all that information? Would I do, or various things I could do? Would it become a full-blown book that people would want to buy? And she talked me into doing the full-blown book. And she coached me through the writing process. And I have to say, without Sue, my book wouldn't have won the awards. The content's mine, but she just crafted it with me, taught me skills that I've used in my subsequent books as well. But it was funny. I just told people I was going to write a book. I hadn't even started the first bit, and they go, "Oh, would you come and talk on this? Would you come?" And they come to me for coaching, and so that's how it started, almost accidentally. And then, of course, you turn it into a business and develop it further. So I wrote The Numbers Business, won the specialist book section at the Business Book Awards, went on, turned that into an online course, because the one-to-one coaching is great, but not everybody can afford that. So there's a course that's, well, several courses now, which are all cheaper, more accessible, and group coaching. And I still do a fair amount of, once a month there's a free webinar for people, because when I started out, lots of people helped me out with free advice and so on. So it's stuff, it's also a bit of a marketing tool if you like it, when come and pay for more. It gives people a taste of what it's like to work with me, but it's also there for those who will never work with me.
And also adding that value, not obviously not giving away for free, but like having that value add even for people who can't have the one-on-one, I think is so special. And I also want to talk about the exit. We've got a lot to cover, I think. But I guess, so when you're sitting down with a new accountant who's looking for some mentorship, some guidance, what are often the current things people kind of come to you with? Like, are the kind of frequent, like, recurrent problems or challenges that you hear about the most?
They're bright, intelligent people. They've built their business. They've got so far, but they're not quite getting to where they want to be. If they're making the profit, they're working too many hours, or they're not making the profit yet that they feel they should be. So we sit down, and basically the chapters in the book have formed the methodology of my coaching. And so we try and identify key areas, so it doesn't just start with chapter 1 and go all the way through. Otherwise you could just read the book yourself, or do the course. So it's cherry picking what's going to have the biggest impact. So I look for the big impact thing, which often takes time. So I also look for some quick wins as well. So let's do something that would make you feel better in the meantime while you're slogging to change this. But almost always pricing is part of it.
Right. Let's talk about that. Is that people just consistently underprice, right? Why do you think that kind of happens?
It's that humility again. Because we're doing stuff that feels easy to us, we often don't feel that we should be charging, because it's not hard work. And it's fabulous that you can earn money doing something that doesn't feel like hard work. So, but I always say, if you don't charge enough, you end up taking on twice as many clients, which means you either work too many hours or you only have half the time available to service those clients. So by undercharging them, you're also underservicing them.
Doesn't benefit them either.
It's in the client's interests to some extent to charge them more, because then you can do a good quality job. And my favourite testimonial back from the Hudson Accountants days was, you're more expensive than, and he named another local bookkeeper, but much easier to work with. This wasn't we did better accounts, We
Interesting.
didn't say we offered fabulous business advice. Just we had that little bit of extra time to talk him through what we needed,
Mm,
to talk plain English, and to
mm,
make sure he understood things. So
that's
just extra TLC is the first thing that you're able to offer if you charge more. And it also means that you can look for those advisory opportunities. So some of the advice is just, it's almost a throwaway, the Compliance Plus. And again, the software companies, oh, move into advisory and you can find all these opportunities in your accounts.
uh,
You can, but a
mm,
lot of it is just the Compliance Plus. But occasionally you just find a nugget and you could go, I noticed this and I think we could do this.
mm,
It will cost you. Do you want to do it?
mm.
Um,
And then
so,
there might be like a eureka moment. I mean, when you've got somebody, because I'm also really interested in like knowing when you're like ready for this, when you're ready for a business advisory. Because I was actually speaking to a lovely lady yesterday, the Lucas, who was like, "Oh, I really want to kind of move into this
yeah,
space, but she was saying, oh, I don't have an MBA," and I was like, I really don't think you need that, right? Because also you I mean, what I always find with you guys is that because you're there from day one, you see everything. Like the
yes,
numbers don't lie.
yeah.
You're the first to know if something goes wrong. It's like you're kind of the crisis response squad. Like you know everything. So how does somebody know when they're ready for business advisory? And if they're not ready, what should they do to get to that level where they have the confidence that they can offer this service and do a really good job and increase their prices accordingly, so to speak.
It's curiosity, always curiosity. I want to know about the business owners.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say an MBA probably isn't the right thing because MBAs are designed for corporate life.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are entrepreneurial degrees coming out,
Mm,
that both Bristol universities
mm,
offer entrepreneurial degrees now, and I've spoken on one of them. But it's, if you've got enough experience, you can borrow ideas from one business for another. If you read a lot, it gets you thinking about things. It's
mm,
just being in that space and learning. You soak up the knowledge, and then somebody mentions something, and you go, "Oh
mm.
yeah, what
Come
about this?"
on.
And
Mm,
so sometimes you're thinking a little bit on the spot, but actually you could just go, "Let me think about that, and I'll come back to you." And
mm,
you can come back then with, what about if we did this? And sometimes it's a bit of a hearts and minds thing. The pricing thing is always really hard to get people to do it, and you need to talk
mm.
them through it, and we'll put together scripts together.
To tell the clients.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And of course you need to then, once you've got the right prices, you need to increase them each year by inflation.
Oh my God, of
And
course.
actually, next year, I think it will be more than inflation because we've picked up MTD costs. We're training ourselves, we're investing in software, we're training our clients, all of which
Mm,
needs to be recovered somehow. We've got the ACSP with Companies House. That's training, it's software, it's hand holding clients through that process. So, on limited and sole traders,
mm.
there are above inflationary costs. So I'm already in my mind drafting that that email because usually I go, yeah, as usual, it's the inflationary thing, which is X%, and this is a good time to remind you to review your own prices because we
Interesting.
are modelling good business practice for our clients
For
as
them
well.
as well.
Yeah,
They've also got to keep up with inflation
yeah.
as
It's not
well.
just here's an increase in your cost. It's, and by the way, don't forget to
Yes.
increase yours.
Yes. And I guess with this, with kind of looking to grow your practice, so not just in terms of service offering, but also in terms of headcount.
Mm.
So when you exited, how many were there of you?
There were 8 of us.
Eight. Okay. I mean, a superhero team of eight. So when did you kind of realize, okay, now I want to start bringing people on? And what did that kind of process look like for you? And delegating as well, because I can
Yeah.
imagine when you've like built this like really renowned business, everybody you feel like it's my baby, and then delegating can feel a little bit scary. So tell me about that.
Yes, it always did feel like my baby, but I must say I wouldn't sell either of my children. So there's a very
Good
firm
caveat for
line there.
everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, so I've never really been that precious about it. I think it's I don't think of myself as anything more than an average accountant.
Mm-hmm.
My skill, if it is a skill, is it's in the communication, the relationships, the talking to people, the listening to people,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding. And this is why I think introverts can actually do it really well. We naturally listen.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So that thing that appears to be holding you back, it makes you very cautious when it comes to selling and things like that.
Mm.
You just approach it a different way. So, the sales isn't so much telling people what you can do, it's the listening to what they need and then matching what you can do to what they need. Or recognizing that they'd actually be better off with another accountant. And I've done that. It's about 50-50 for me, whether we take clients on or whether I refer them elsewhere to somebody who's more suitable.
Interesting. And I guess I'm just kind of conscious of time. In terms of your exit, how did that, so first of all, when did you know that you were ready to sell your baby or move on to something else? How did you kind of come, like, when did you realize this is, I think maybe this is the end for me with this particular venture, I want to look at something else? Like, talk me through that story.
That was another running revelation. You can see a theme here. Yeah. I was training for an Ironman. And
is this is where you swim, you bike, and you run
yes.
like a marathon? Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's all right. I'm a once in a lifetime Ironman. I'm not I know some friends who do one every year. This was going to be the pinnacle of my athletics career, and believe me, it has been. I'm thinking of writing a book on sort of Ironman to couch. So, struggling to get running.
Ironman to couch.
So you have a lot of time training. Mm-hmm. Especially the speed I run. I like to get my value out of my entry fees and just run very slowly.
Leisurely, like,
yes. So in that time, you're thinking about everything while you're running, you're swimming, you're cycling. You've got so much time, and it was that I wanted a business that would allow me to do the digital nomad thing, which meant a fully remote business.
Uh-huh.
And Hudson Accountants and Business Advisors wouldn't fit that model. So
how come? Just because
it was very much located geographically, with an office, with a team who were all
like rooted in
the office. Yeah. So I decided to sell it. And I didn't originally plan to start another accountancy practice. That came later, accidentally. So I worked out what I enjoyed about it. Still didn't really have a firm plan, which is why I was going to take a year, write the book, and come up with something. And it all sort of landed in my lap, as it turned out. So sold the practice. And because of the way I had built it, so it operated fairly independently of me. I was the face of the business. I brought in the business and effectively threw them over my shoulder, and my team caught them and looked after them. So they did the work. I just had to go out and eat for a living. Hence why the weight piled on after I'd done the Ironman. So yeah, I really enjoyed doing that, but it had ceased to give me what I needed anymore. So I did that, wrote the book, started the new coaching and courses and so on, which were all online, all remote. And then in 2020, COVID hit, of course. And I had a whole lot of speaking cancelled, which meant that I had spare time.
Mm.
And at the same time, a lot of accountants appear to have gone AWOL, whether they were too old to cope with technology, fearful of dealing with people catching over them. I have no idea, but lots disappeared. And so I thought, businesses need accountants. This is something I can do in my sleep.
Mm.
So I went out, got my practicing certificate again and set up. And the idea was just to help people out in the interim, to build a small client bank that would enable me to keep my coaching up to date, to have a little sandbox for playing with the latest technology. And then it was never meant to be a big business. But of course, with COVID, all the accountants, all the businesses then wanted all the business advice to cope. I have never worked so hard in my life. Thank goodness. 25 hours a week went out of the window during COVID. And I sort of worked to get it back down afterwards. But again, you start an accountancy practice, you do the right things, and it grows. So now I have about 2 days a week spent on Minerva Accountants, 2 days a week on the speaking, writing, coaching, consultancy, the other business. I've got a tiny little fintech with my partner, who's a software engineer, and I have 2 volunteering roles with the Institute of Chartered Accountants. So I'm the chair of the West of England board, and I'm also on the Global Council. And last week I stood for vice president.
Oh my goodness.
One of 3 very strong candidates. So who knows what the outcome will be.
Oh, for ICOR. Oh my goodness, that's so exciting. When do you find out?
So the voting's now open. It's council who vote on that, and it will be announced at the next council meeting in December.
Oh my goodness.
So
I don't know when this goes out, but I think probably in January. So I'll
yes,
we'll update
after the event. Yes, we'll update. Oh my goodness.
My goodness, my fingers are so crossed for you. I think this has been such an amazing chat. I feel like we might need to do a part 2 to be honest, because there was a whole lot we didn't get to do. But I guess to summarize, I'm thinking about, if I'm an accountant, I've got my practice at the kitchen table, and I want to exit my practice and also not compromise on work-life balance. What are your maybe top 3 pieces of wisdom for how you can exit a business and not burn yourself out?
You need to make it work independently of you. So if you're going to leave the business and it immediately collapses, that's not a saleable business. It needs to work independently of you. And it's very hard with a small practice because you are very much the face of the business. So we're building a business that works without us and that clients know works without us. Which is where it's easier with a team, because you talk about the team and people know the team will be there. So I'm telling you so-and-so, but the team will continue. So if it is only you, you need to find somebody who's a good match. Because there's usually an element of clawback. You want to make sure you're not going to lose all those clients. It's in your interest financially, but also we want to look after our clients. There's a certain responsibility to them, which is also the downside, which is why accountants over-service. So it's making sure the business will operate without you, and that your clients have confidence that it will operate without you, either with your team or with the new person. So it's a good handover as well. You need to be around enough to make sure that it does work smoothly, but it's also very hard because you don't want to interfere with the person buying, because usually they're the bigger side of the business, or at least they're going to take it forward. So you need to help your clients through that transition, not do nothing's going to change, it's going to be, and they do this better than we used to, and
frame it in a positive way.
What's in it for your clients? Like any selling, what's in it for them?
I was wondering if there's anyone that you would like to shout out. We like to do a little shout out at the end of the episode about another accountant bookkeeper or someone in the finance space who's doing something cool and something a bit different. Does anyone come to mind at all?
Oh, so many. Who forgot? So in the bookkeeping space, I would say Natasha Everton. Very good, and she's very tech savvy as well, making the most of software to automate the bookkeeping process. So that's her sweet spot. Another person with technology is Alex Falcon.
Yes, I think someone else has shouted her out as well. I need to
She's brilliant.
connect with her. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And who else have we got? On the software front, Clarity HQ is very good for getting started in advisory, for automating your advisory. So that's always worth a look. So Ainsley and Steve
From Clarity
very
HQ.
good. Yes, they're both accountants as well. So they've built the software that automates what they used to do when they ran their practices.
Been on both sides of the
Yes.
coin. Amazing. What a perfect note to end on. Della, thank you so much. I've loved this, and I think we all need to do a part two because there was so much we didn't get to cover. But so you're on LinkedIn, you've got books, you've got a website as well for Minerva and your mentorship coaching. Is anywhere else we should find you or be following you?
So hudsonbusiness.co.uk is the website. It's all on there. The books are also on Amazon, and I'm on most social media as Della Hudson FCA.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been fun.